Hi, I'm George Mueller, and this is the video recording of Synchronous Day 5 for folks who had to miss the final for History 3, History 301. I'm going to cough. I've been doing it all semester. I'm going to keep doing it. Sorry. So, the first things that we need to do are take a second and think a little bit about other leadership styles, the ones we talked about at the beginning of the semester. Hopefully, you've got a few in mind. This is a video that's kind of humorous, and you can find the link on the accompanying PowerPoint. Follow that link, watch the video, pause this video, watch that video, and then come back. Really, I'll wait. Okay, you're back? It was funny, right? And it gives you the idea that if you look around, you can see leadership theories in a lot of different places. So take a minute and think about an example of leadership ideas, either from the leadership challenge or from, pardon me, or from any of the other leadership theories that we've talked about in the class. And, well, take a moment now and open up a Word file. You're going to keep this, and you're going to turn this in at the end. I'll tell you where. But on that, write down an example of a leadership idea that shows up in another area of pop culture. It could be in a TV show or a movie, or it could be behind the scenes. Maybe you know something about the making of the movie Aliens, and it fits. Wherever. Here's my example. On the show The Big Bang Theory, there's an episode where the group tries to sell an app. And they're making the app, and the four men are working together, and Sheldon, as is normal, tries to take over, and they have to kick him out. And Leonard becomes the de facto leader of the group. Leonard never says that he's leading. Instead, he leads by example. He works hard on the group. He helps the other group members do what they're trying to do, keeps everyone organized. So in other words, he's enabling others as well as leading by example. So hopefully you can think of another example or two. Write down just a couple of sentences describing that into that file. I'll wait here while you do it. Oh, you're back. The next thing we need to talk about a little bit is morals. Now, one thing that you may run into as a leader in a workplace is people being mistreated. Take a sec, pause this video, and watch this one. Okay, now that you've watched that video, how would you react? And think about this. Is there a workplace equivalent? And if you saw someone being mistreated, what could you do about it? This isn't one that I'm going to have you write down, but it is something you should think about. Now, the first of these two videos, the fake fallers, doesn't seem to be working. It's on again, off again. I'm not sure quite what the deal is. YouTube is being uncharacteristically uncooperative. But watch the second one. It's a little bit jarring. It's something like 10 minutes long. So give it a watch, and then in that file that you're keeping, write down a brief description of what would compel you to take a stand in the workplace, even if it might mean losing your job. And here I'm not looking for extreme things. Okay, if your company was making a Zyklon B, which is the gas used in the Holocaust, yeah, everybody would quit and report it. What I'm looking for is real world examples of things that might actually happen that would be the earliest level where you would say, This is too much of an issue for me. I'd love to give you an example because I've actually had to do this twice in my career, but I'm actually not allowed to talk about either one. So, legalities. Pardon me. The next thing I'm going to have you watch is a video on filter bubbles. Filter bubbles, well, you'll see when you watch the video. So pause this one, watch the video, and then come back. Yeah, there you are. So, filter bubbles. How does this idea connect to our topic? And the short answer is it doesn't very directly. But it is something that I think students should know more about. This has a direct effect on modern politics, as we saw last year. And it can affect the workplace. Knowing that different people are getting different information and are seeing the world in a very different way can greatly impact how you approach working with them. And that brings us to the next thing you're going to write about. And that's what your year has been like. There's a word from German that's come into English, and it's Zeitgeist. Zeitgeist literally means spirit of the time. And what it refers to is the character or the mood of a particular period in time. And what I want you to do is think back over the previous academic year. And yes, I've got 2016 and 17. It should be 17 and 18. But I'm a historian. I'm behind the times. Think back to your previous year and make a list of the events, challenges, and personal accomplishments that made the year what it was. You should include personal, professional, and academic events. Your list needs to include at least 15 events. And don't focus just on negative things. Sometimes those are easier to think of. But try and think of at least 50% positive things that happened. And this is intended to make you think about your year in more detail than you're really used to, especially the thinking about the previous few months. For some people, this can be a very uncomfortable experience, but it's a valuable exercise. And this is going to go into that file that you're turning in later. To give you an example, here's my list. This is actually a list from 2 years ago, but bear with me. We planned a wedding. It was my daughter's. We had the wedding. I achieved Blackboard certification at Heartland Community College. My father-in-law fell and injured himself, kind of badly. I took my father-in-law to 26 separate doctor's appointments. I arranged new living arrangements for him to help him recuperate. I served as the executor for a relative who passed away. Not my father-in-law. He's still alive and doing fine. This was somebody I didn't even know. I just wound up in charge of their estate at random from another state. Someone I hadn't met for years. Anyway, I received an award from Project Rise for excellence in teaching, and you can see the rest. That should give you an example of the range of things, from the personal to the academic to the professional, that I'm looking for. So go write that. It should take you 15 or 20 minutes. Take your time and come up with the best list that you can, something that really represents your year. I'll wait here if you hit pause. Oh, you're back. Our next step is to imagine yourself just before retirement. And the idea is, think about what it would be like in an achievable but ideal future. We're not talking the future where you won the lottery and married a supermodel. Or I don't know what the guy equivalent is. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the future that is reasonable to think that you might do. The one where your plans work out and you move forward with your plans as they are at the moment. So in this ideal world, what's your professional life like? How are you seen by others in your professional life? What's your personal life like? Now, you should probably focus more on your professional life, but your personal life also bears a little bit of impact on what your plans are. So take a look at both. You should spend about half an hour writing on this topic. There's not a minimum or a maximum length. It's however much time it takes you to describe this ideal future for yourself. Again, hit pause and I'll wait here for you. Okay, got it in that file? Fantastic. Because now you're going to set some goals to help you get there. The system that Lincoln likes is called DAPS. That's dated, achievable, personal, positive, specific goals. And what this means is it needs to be a goal that says, I need to do this by a specific time. It needs to be something that you can do. That means it has to be something you are personally in control of. You can't say, I'm going to win the lottery by next Thursday. You don't control that. But you can say, I'm going to complete a certification by June. Okay, that's something you can control. Assuming the certification can be done in a year, that's something you can do. And it's something that definitely impacts you. Should also be positive. That is, you shouldn't be saying, I'm not going to do something. So in the next 3 months, I'm not going to go to jail. Okay, good. You shouldn't go to jail, and that's a goal, I guess. But a good goal is something that you actively are doing, not something that you're refraining from doing. So that's what we mean by positive. It also needs to be specific. We're looking for a very specific thing you can do. For example, one of the other students said, within the next week, I need to get my book for my next class. Okay, that's a good specific goal. Now you're going to find as you get further out, they get a little harder. And in the final paper, you're going to tell me some of these goals, but not all of them. Some of them are just intended to help you move from that next week into far in the future, decades away from now. So go. This will probably take you about 30 minutes, and type that answer out. If you hit pause, I'll be waiting here. And now we need to talk a little bit about failure. This video is going to talk about why you shouldn't be afraid to fail sometimes. This will tie in with some of the things that KMP had to say, but also it expands on those. In the modern day, we've become somewhat afraid of failure. Now, failing on a large scale can be really devastating, but it's also sometimes the only way to learn, and you shouldn't fear it so much. The next thing I want you to write in that document that you're sending to me is a reflection on the group project. Now, I don't need specifics in this, but what I'm looking for is, well, what would you do now to make a group project work better on that first night? We had some challenges in the groups. None of the groups certainly failed, but they all had some moments when they had issues. What could you do to avoid that the first night? Write it into that document. You're going to send it to me later. And here are a couple notes for the final week of class. That file that you should send to me, that final week of class, in-class assignment, that should have the pop culture leadership prompt that we did at the beginning. What would compel you to take a stand on the job? Your year so far reflection, your envisioning the future activity, your DAPS goals, the group reflection assignment, and the last assignments that are due by this coming Friday are the final journal and the final leadership essay. If you have any questions, you should contact me. Otherwise, it's been a good semester, and I hope you're doing well. Don't hit like, don't submit. I'm not a YouTuber. See you later.